Hi everyone, my name is Maya. I'm 28 years old. I work as a school teacher. I love my job. I love my family, or at least, I thought I did. I'm the kind of person who keeps records of everything. Receipts, screenshots, text messages, bank statements. My mom used to laugh at me for it. She'd say, Maya, you are not running a courtroom. You are living a life. She wasn't wrong, but she also wasn't there when my own aunts and uncles hired a lawyer, a real, actual lawyer, and sat my daughter down at a table to pressure her into signing over her share of my grandmother's inheritance. My daughter, who was 19 years old at the time. So today, I want to tell you the full story from the beginning. Because I think a lot of you are going to recognize pieces of this subtle manipulation, the fake family unity, the way money changes people you thought you knew, and at the end, I want you to see what happened when I walked into that room with a folder ... let single quotes S start at the beginning. My grandmother, her name was Dorothy, but we all called her Nana, passed away 3 years ago at the age of 82. She was sharp until the very end. Like, terrifyingly sharp. She remembered every birthday, every phone number, every promise anyone ever made her. She also remembered who showed up. Nana had 4 children, my mother being the oldest, and about 11 grandchildren scattered across the country. Most of us were close to her. Some of us ... were only close to her estate. Now, Nana had a house, a paid-off house in a nice neighborhood that had appreciated significantly over the decades. She also had savings, jewelry, and some investments. Not crazy wealth, but life-changing money if you were a young person just starting out. She had a will, a proper, notarized, lawyer-drafted will. And in that will, she left specific items to specific people. She was very intentional about it. She left her house to be split between her 4 children, standard. But her jewelry, her savings account, and a particular investment portfolio, she left those directly to her grandchildren, equally split, 11 ways. She told me once, and I'll never forget this, she said, I want the young ones to have a head start. The older generation will figure it out. They always do. She was wise. She just didn't account for how greedy the older generation could get. For the first few months after the funeral, everything was ... fine. Sad, but fine. The estate went through probate. The will was clear. The attorney handling it was straightforward. But then came the family meeting. My Uncle Gerald called it. He's my mother's youngest brother, the one who had always lived closest to Nana, always positioned himself as her caretaker. Even though, and I say this with receipts, my mother was the one driving her to doctor's appointments, picking up her medications, and spending holidays with her. Gerald called a family meeting and announced that he believed Nana's will was unfair. His argument, and I want you to really hear this, his argument was that because he had lived near Nana, he had sacrificed career opportunities. Therefore, he believed he deserved a larger share of the house. And to make that happen, he wanted the grandchildren to voluntarily reduce their inheritance claims. Voluntarily, I watched my mother's face during that meeting. She didn't say a word. She just looked at him with this expression I can only describe as, I have been expecting this. I took notes on my phone. I screenshot the group text thread where he had been building up to this argument for weeks. I'm telling you, I was raised by a woman who survived things, and survival taught me, document everything. Most of the grandchildren shrug it off. They said Uncle Gerald is just talking. It'll blow over. It didn't blow over. My daughter, Lily, was 19 at the time. She had just started college. She was sweet, a little naive, completely trusting of family. Gerald knew this. One weekend, when I was out of town at a teacher's conference, notice the timing, Gerald organized a family lunch. He told Lily it was just to catch up. He said my mom would be there. My mom was not there. What was there? Gerald, his wife Sandra, my Aunt Patrice, the other scheming sibling, and a man who turned out to be a paralegal working for their attorney. They sat my 19-year-old daughter down and presented her with a document. The document was framed as a voluntary family agreement that would redistribute the grandchildren's inheritance shares to give Gerald a larger cut of the overall estate. They told Lily that all the other grandchildren had already signed it. That was a lie. They told her that Nana would have wanted this because family harmony was more important than money. That was manipulation. They told her that if she didn't sign, it might delay the entire estate settlement for years and cost everyone legal fees. That was a threat. Lily called me, crying, from the bathroom of Gerald's house. She said, "Mom, I don't know what to do. They're being really intense, and there's a legal guy here, and I feel like I have to sign it." I told her 3 words, "Do not sign." Then I got in my car. Here's the thing about keeping records. People think you're paranoid or controlling, or that you have trust issues. But what records actually are is respect for the truth. I had been quietly building a file for months. Not because I knew it would come to this, but because something in me felt the ground shifting and I wanted to be ready. In my folder, my physical folder that I printed out and carried into Gerald's house, I had 1. A spreadsheet of every medical appointment my mother had taken Nana to over a 5-year period, dates, doctors, mileage. I had pulled her calendar, her texts, her emails, too. Bank records showing that when Nana needed her roof repaired 2 winters ago, it was my mother who paid the contractor. Gerald, who lived 20 minutes away, contributed $0. 3 screenshots from the family group chat where Gerald had, in his own words, said, and I'm paraphrasing, that he barely had time to check in on the old lady because of his work schedule. His words, his chat. 4. A letter, handwritten, from Nana, dated 8 months before she passed. In it, she wrote, and I did keep a copy of this, she wrote that she was aware Gerald expected more, that she had thought carefully about her decisions, and that her will represented her true and final wishes with no pressure from anyone. She had anticipated this. My grandmother had anticipated this and left a paper trail. Because apparently, it runs in the family. I walked into Gerald's house. Lily was still at the table. The paralegal had his briefcase open. Gerald looked surprised to see me, which told me everything I needed to know about what he thought I was, someone who wouldn't show up. I sat down. I put my folder on the table. Gerald started talking immediately, the way people do when they're nervous. He said this was just a family conversation, that no one was forcing anyone to do anything, that he was surprised I had driven all the way back, that this was really unnecessary. I opened the folder. I slid the bank records across the table first. The contractor invoice, my mother's name on the payment. Gerald stopped talking. I slid the medical appointment spreadsheet next. His wife, Sandra, looked at it, looked at him, and I will remember this forever. She slowly leaned back in her chair and said nothing. I put Nana's letter in the center of the table. The paralegal looked at it, looked at Gerald, and quietly closed his briefcase. I said calmly, my daughter will not be signing anything today. And I'd like to suggest that before anyone takes another legal step, your attorney reviews what I brought here. Because if this goes further, this all goes further. Gerald said, and I quote, "This isn't what it looks like." And I said, Gerald, I have a folder. It looks exactly like what it looks like. Lily grabbed her bag and walked out with me. We sat in the car for a long time. She cried a little. I cried a little. Then she said, Mom, how did you know? And I said, Baby, Nana taught me. Always show up, always keep records, and always know who's in your corner. The estate was settled 6 months later, according to Nana's will, exactly as she intended. Gerald did not get an extra share. He did receive his portion of the house, like everyone else. He hasn't spoken to my mother since. That's his choice. My daughter used her portion of the inheritance to pay off her first year of college debt. I think Nana would have loved that. And me, I still keep folders. I still take screenshots. I still log dates and times and payments. Because here's what I've learned. Love doesn't mean you stop paying attention. Love and receipts are not opposites. Sometimes love is showing up with evidence when someone tries to take what wasn't theirs. If you're in a family situation right now where something feels off, where someone is using pressure or confusion or family harmony to get you to give up something that's yours, please hear this. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to ask for time. You are allowed to get your own advice. And you are allowed to document everything. Nana knew who showed up. Now I do too. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and take care of yourselves and each other.